This master swordsmith is forging a katana from a 4.5 billion year old meteorite that traveled millions of miles through space. And one wrong strike could shatter it completely. But a great reward awaits if he's successful. If all goes well, this blade will be unique. Anyone would see just why by looking at it. It's 9:30 a.m. and Master Swordsmith Kunamasa Matsuba carefully examines the piece he'll be working with today. It's not like what he usually sees because it has a pitted surface. They are literally the scars of a fiery journey. This metal isn't local, and that's putting it mildly. It came to Japan by way of Argentina, but its origin is much further away than that. It is actually a meteorite that crashed into Earth, one of 17 that make it to our planet's surface every day. It's about 3.5 kilograms in weight, about the weight of a newborn baby, but worth more than a luxury car. It might not have been completely vaporized in the atmosphere like so many of its cousins, but it's about to get hot again. Matsuba begins the preparation process, and the space rock is heated to about 1500 degrees Fahrenheit in this traditional charcoal furnace called a tatara. Give it 15 minutes and the metal surface is red hot. That's the cue for Matsuba to make his first hammer strikes to see how workable this material is. He'll soon find that he has to take special care here. This meteorite isn't like the typical iron he's used to working with, because it's only about 90% iron. The rest is mostly nickel with a trace amount of other metals. Sure, it means the material is more resistant to corrosion than the typical iron used in swords like this, but that also means it's more challenging to work with conventional techniques. Namely, it's more brittle and prone to breaking during the forging process, and the problem doesn't stop there. The iron-nickel alloy has a unique structure formed from millions of years of traveling in the cold blackness of space. These properties, which will make the final blade so desirable, also make it a hassle to shape properly. If Matsuba isn't careful, the metal will crack or break when he tries to make it look like a real sword. Matsuba hasn't messed up so far, but this is just the beginning. Japanese swords have a distinct manufacturing process from now on, and the techniques come at a cost. It's 11:45 a.m., and now it's crunch time. Most literally, the metal now looks like this rectangular bar. It's approximately 12 inches long, and it's getting even hotter than when it started its day. As you can see, it's glowing even brighter, more like an orange color, because it's almost 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. That heat is needed for this most uniquely Japanese way of forging swords. Matsuba and his assistant use steel hammers to strike the rectangular bar in a rhythmic sequence, flattening it to twice its original length. 3 minutes later, the bar is folded back on itself and hammered to consolidate the layers. Each fold is performed at a specific temperature, with the forge carefully maintained between 2100 degrees and 2300 degrees using a combination of charcoal and these hand-pumped bellows. The temperature has to be just right, especially with material that can be this brittle. By 12:30, Matsuba can feel satisfied. Sure, there's sweat dripping from his brow despite being outside, but he's just finished the final fold. Contrary to popular belief, katanas are not folded 1,000 times. One could only wonder how much of his weight Matsuba would sweat out in that case. Instead, they're typically folded 10 to 12 times, for a good reason. Each fold doubles the number of layers in the steel. Folding the blade homogenizes the carbon content throughout its length, while simultaneously aligning the metal's grain structure. But why is this done? It's not for the reason you think. The folds don't actually increase the strength or durability of the steel. They do ensure that the carbon content throughout the blade is uniform, though. And it's particularly important now. Since Matsuba is using meteoritic metal as his base, the folds distribute the nickel content evenly throughout the blade and work out impurities, as meteorites typically contain only 0.2 to 0.6% carbon, while traditional Japanese swords require 0.6 to 0.7% carbon for proper hardening. The folding technique being applied to this meteorite represents a bridge between cosmic and earthly materials. Without this precise series of maneuvers, the meteorite's unique properties would make it too brittle for a functional blade. The rhythmic hammering echoing across the shrine's grounds connects to centuries of Japanese swordsmithing tradition, with techniques passed down through generations since the Heian period. But while the folding process is critical, it's not enough. The next step will truly determine whether this space metal can be transformed into a worthy sword. 2:15 p.m. Matsuba begins the critical clay application process. He carefully applies this special mixture of clay, charcoal powder, and pulverized whetstone along the blade's body. The coating varies in thickness to precise dimensions. It's 0.5 millimeter near the cutting edge and 1.5 millimeter toward the spine. It's a painstaking process that takes 45 minutes, but Matsuba can't cut any corners. He uses these specialized bamboo tools to create an undulating pattern along the boundary between thick and thin clay. This material and pattern is crucial for the next phase, which is the most dangerous part of the entire Japanese sword-making process, at least for the sword, fortunately not for Matsuba. By 3 p.m., everything's ready to get hot again. Matsuba heats the blade to exactly 1508 degrees Fahrenheit. He plunges it edge first into this water tank that has a much more modest 64.4 degrees Fahrenheit. The blade hisses violently as steam erupts from the water's surface. And it's lucky that it has that clay coating, or the katana would never get its iconic look. This coating insulates the blade, but as you know, not every part of the sword has the same amount of coating. So the katana in the making cools unevenly. The edge, with its thinner coat, cools at about 392 degrees Fahrenheit every second, but the sword's spine is different. It cools at about 122 degrees a second. The process ends with the sword's edge being much harder than the blade, measuring 60 to 65, compared to 40 to 45 on the Rockwell hardness scale. The edge also contracts more than the spine during the coating. This is how the katana gets its signature curve. It's been a long day, but Matsuba still isn't done. He'll have to leave it out overnight. For now, it's like most katanas. The unique cosmic signature of this blade will only be revealed tomorrow. 9:20 a.m. Matsuba gets up and begins a meticulous polishing process that starts with this coarse stone that has a grit of 220. He works methodically along the blade's length with back and forth motions. And if you think these rhythms are tedious, you're probably not cut out to be a blacksmith. It will take 3 hours. At least not everything's the same in that length of time. The polishing stones get finer and finer over that time, finishing with a 10,000 grit waterstone that leaves the blade's surface mirror smooth. Everything's ready. At 12:45 p.m., Matsuba prepares a solution of this ferric chloride diluted to a 10% concentration and carefully applies it with cotton swabs, section by section, to the blade's surface. Now the magic happens. Within 30 seconds, distinctive crystalline patterns emerge on the metal. Here, before our eyes, is the hidden cosmic fingerprint we've been waiting to see. These intersecting lines, forming geometric shapes reminiscent of frost patterns on a window, are the patterns unique to meteoritic iron. Watch as the cosmic patterns slowly emerge with each polishing. These patterns are made from interlocking crystal structures of 2 iron-nickel alloys, kamacite and taenite. While taenite can naturally occur on Earth, kamacite is only found in space rocks, created over millions of years of the meteors wandering in the cold void of interplanetary space. By 1:30 p.m., the entire blade has been fully etched, revealing its cosmic origin in patterns that have never been seen in any Earth-forged metal. But this polishing process isn't just for show. It also removes microscopic imperfections. The final polish achieves a surface smoothness of approximately 0.1 microns. That means this samurai sword is about as sharp as modern surgical instruments. Fortunately, the sword won't be used to cut anyone. It's ready for its more artistic purpose, as a dedication to the rebuilding of the Eiso Shrine, one of the oldest in Japan, which was damaged severely in an earthquake in 2016. It was a catastrophe. The shrine celebrated Raman Gate demolished by the forces of nature. But the sword, now mounted on this ceremonial stand with a handle of white silk and black lacquer scabbard, marks the shrine's complete renewal, literally blessed by the stuff of the heavens themselves. Bye for now.